Ladies and gentlemen, it has happened. The Pokemon Unite devs have nerfed Mewtwo. Only took them about like 3 months to get the nerfs right, but they got it. I know in the past they have nerfed Mewtwo like almost every patch, but this nerf actually has some weight to it because they completely broke this Pokemon to the ground. Critical attack, gone. Future sight damage, gone. Mega gauge, decrease. Movement speed, decrease. Now from these patch notes, it looks like Mewtwo is almost unplayable. I actually did jump into a couple matches when I was testing out MewTwo, and from what I can see, Mewtwo doesn't hurt as much as it once did, and it is more killable. But while we're on the subject of Mewtwo, the devs made sure to nerf those guilty by association with Mewtwo. And so for those of you thinking to move on to the next meta, Urshifu and Blissey, don't even bother because they got the nerf hammer too. Not as significant as Mewtwo, but it looks like the Pokemon Unite devs were actually paying attention to what players were using. Urshifu's Surging Strikes were nerfed by 2%, which doesn't do too much, and his defense were lowered as well. I think Urshifu's still a very strong Pokemon. He might be able to make a return with Mewtwo finally being erased out the picture, but only time will tell that. As far as Blissey, Safeguard Shield has been decreased about like 9%. The base of the shield has been reduced about 100. Upgraded Safeguard has also been decreased. And Helping Hand's attack speed increase has been decreased about 10%. Blissey also received a movement speed decrease of 10%. And a Unite move, Bliss Assistance, the shield has been reduced about 60%. And a base of 1200 instead of 1500. This was very much needed, because going against Blissey is very annoying because her shield can nullify special damage and Unite move damage, making squishies not so squishy. So this nerf is very much welcome. I think Pokemon Unite is paying attention to people who are abusing like the Mewtwo Blissey or Urshifu Blissey meta, and so they decided to nerf both of them. Mew has been buffed. I didn't know anyone still played Mew, but the devs gave it a new spell vamp that restores HP when dealing special damage. Its boosted attack has been buffed, and Solar Beam received a cooldown reduction, and so does Light Screen. So those unfamiliar with Mew, it is a backline Pokemon that can deal tons of burst damage with Solar Beam, but the cooldowns are honestly atrocious, which is why you probably don't see a lot of people play Mew. But maybe these small changes will welcome Mew back into the game. I'm gonna be honest though, I haven't encountered a useful Mew ever on my team, but that's just me. I think you have better chances just playing Cram. I'm just saying. Moving on to Blaziken, who has been pretty much forgotten about after release due to its inability to survive the game's meta, but with Mewtwo gone, maybe Blaziken will be a stronger team player. So Blaziken received some natural stat buffs. His defense has been increased about 20 for each level. His special defense has been increased. Punch style attack speed has been increased by 10%. His Unite move, Spinning Flame Fist, has been decreased about a second. The movement speed from this Unite move has been increased. His attack stats have been increased about 10%. And then Pokemon Unite fixed a couple of bugs that were happening. Apparently, his attacks will no longer cancel Fire Punch, and so they fixed that. So the chicken has received defense buffs, some cooldowns and bug fixes, and I hope these make it a better all-rounder in matches. My guess being not really, because from what I've experienced so far in the patch, most Blaze players suck. It's just the skill ceiling is too high, it requires actual thinking and not mindless spamming, and sometimes you aren't rewarded with the damage you hope. So maybe people play Blaziken more, maybe not, but me personally, I'll probably give him a try to see how good he is and if these patches have actually made him better. And with, like I said, with Mewtwo gone, maybe he will perform better in matches. Moving on to the last few Pokemon, Deceidueye and Absol have been both buffed. The bird has an increased attack speed and defense increases. Translation, you are still very powerful but very squishy. I've seen a couple people playing Deceidueye in the match when I was testing out MewTwo, and it feels the same for the most part, but it's nice to see the devs push older characters forward into the meta. Like Absol, for instance, he's receiving attack buffs and some moves changes and cooldowns. It's like the devs are nudging him forward in the hopes of players playing something different now that they nerf Mewtwo. Next we have Lapras, who has received a very much deserved nerf. Half my games were Lapras players having the most of limbs, playing aggressive, and 1v3. Like, why is a defender able to 1v3? Shell armor has been nerfed. damage reduction reduced from 25% to 20%, boosted attack nerfed, HP recovery reduced from 3% to 2%. Perish Song, thank you devs so much for nerfing this, has received a nerf from 99% to 72%, and the base has been reduced from 330 to 245. Lapras was definitely not the most picked Pokemon, but he is underrated because Perish Song is a very powerful move, so it's no surprise why they nerfed that. I guess with anticipation of a new season, they're trying to make some changes to Pokemon in the hopes that people will play them more or less, and some balance changes to make everything fair for everybody and so that nobody has an advantage, which is why Mewtwo received such a high nerf. Lastly, we have Tyranitar getting a lifesteal applied to all his moves, and Cram and Talon getting bug fixes. So my thoughts on this patch is very positive. I'm happy with everything they have done, and I'm excited to return to the game. I'm hoping the Mewtwo nerfs make it playable so I no longer have to see that cursed creature. I think they touched on everything that was a problem, mainly Mewtwo being a problem. I'm hoping people play it less. With them buffing like Absol and Deceidueye and Blaziken, it's like they're saying people need to play this more and use them as a jungler versus playing Mewtwo. And so I'm hoping to see more Blaziken, more Absol, Deceidueye matches instead of seeing Mewtwo. For the matches I did play, I see people still are trying to save Mewtwo or cherish Mewtwo and play it a couple more times, but it's like, it's time to move on. It's time to play something different and leave this meta behind. It's been abused enough for so long, and a lot of people have left the game, including me, because of it. And so I think it is time for change. I think it's time to see Absol in the jungle more. It's time to see Blaziken in the jungle more. And you know, so we won't have that problem of new Pokemon being released and people are like, oh, this Pokemon sucks because it can't counter Mewtwo, or it can't deal with the meta of Mewtwo, Blissey, Urshifu, Blissey. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the current patch. Like I said, it's very positive. I'm very happy with everything. And I want to know your guys' thoughts. Do you think these patch notes were good? Do you think they're bad? Do you think they missed any changes on Pokemon in the game? And if you have been playing since the patch has been released, let me know if Mewtwo is actually unplayable now. I'm really hoping and praying that it is unplayable. So let me know if he's actually unplayable. Thank you guys for watching, and let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye.